It's Christmas morning for League of Legends fans. The World Championship started today.
Plus some big changes to some big cards send ripples through the world of Hearthstone.
I'm John Reisinger, and joining me as always is the Hermione Granger to my Harry Potter, Meg Turney, and the Daily Dot's Jared Wynne. Hello, everybody.
Oh, you're so sweet.
Here's what you need to know.
The World Championships in League of Legends started this morning in Taipei, Taiwan, and the first round is underway as we speak. Some of the earliest results include potential tournament favorites Samsung Galaxy White defeating Edward Gaming and Starhorn Royal Club picking up a win over hometown favorites Taipei Assassins. Jared, there's some big shakeups. I know we're going to talk about SK Gaming a little bit later, but how did these matches seem to you?
Well, they went pretty much to plan. There was no big upsets thus far. The tournament's being played right now as we film this, so it's hard to say what's going on right now. But yeah, speaking of SK Gaming, they got rolled. They got smashed by Team Solo Mid, which is a good thing for TSM fans, but for SK Gaming fans, it's very bad news. And it was not unexpected considering what happened to them prior to the event starting, which we'll get into imminently.
Yes.
Like right now. It's been a bad couple of weeks for SK Gaming. First, they learned that coach Nicola Incarnation Jensen would be banned from attending the League of Legends World Championships, but even that one wasn't as bad as what happened this week. The team will now be without jungler Dennis
Yes, you have the hard name this week.
I do have the hard name this week. Jungler Dennis Svenskeren Johnson for the first 3 games of the group stages. Johnson is with his team in Taiwan for the tournament, but was suspended for using a racist name while playing on Riot's Taiwanese servers. Taipei Chingchong. That's right.
Really?
Yep. He went with that. Both
Jackass.
Johnson and SK Gaming apologized following intense scrutiny and from local media.
For 2 seconds, just consider what you're going to do before you type it. Just 2 seconds would have been enough, I think.
Filter it.
Whatever. That wasn't enough for Riot, who banned Johnson from the 3 of the most important games of his life and slapped him with a $2,500 fine. Hey, yeah. Why so harsh? Well, because it was really, really dumb, but also because it's not the first time Johnson has gotten in trouble. According to Riot, he received multiple formal warnings during the 2014 LCS season regarding his interactions with other players and fans. Jared, let's talk about how dumb you have to be to think that this is okay.
Yeah, I think the problem is that he probably did take 2 seconds, and he thought this was a funny thing.
That was all
yeah, this is his great joke. You know, what kind of really funny thing could I do today? Oh, I know. I'll call myself Taipei Chingchong while I'm here in Taipei.
Right.
That's a great idea.
Like,
you know?
what is like the end game of that? Of like, this is gonna pay off.
People are going to think I'm so funny.
Yeah.
His teammates might have thought it was funny, unfortunately. You know, it could have been a big joke among them. I don't know that. I'm not going to throw any accusations out there. Hey, you know.
Hey,
we don't
you
know.
heard it first.
But it's possible, you know. It's very, very, very amateurish, very unfortunate, and he deserved whatever he got. I mean, it's a very harsh punishment, obviously, because he's basically being kicked out of Worlds. But at the same time, you can't complain about how harsh this is when you do something so stupid.
Right. They're trying to make an image of being professional gamers, and you can't have like troll names on the servers.
I mean, not racist troll names.
Right. I mean, you can have
mean?
a joke, but like racism, let's just stay away from that.
Let's just maybe.
Just maybe.
Please not do that.
They want to detach from the whole internet culture of, you know, being so toxic. And that's been a problem in League of Legends before. In fact, SK Gaming's coach was banned for being toxic to some extent. He did some other stuff as well, but, you know, that was part of the package. So it's not a big surprise this would happen, unfortunately. We kind of expect this to come up every now and then. It's just very unfortunate it would come up right before Worlds. But again, it's nothing to do with Riot, the developer. It's nothing to do with them. It's just the player making a really,
bad timing on
really bad decision, you know, just really, really bad, dumb.
So can we talk a little bit about bad, dumb?
What you gonna do?
What you gonna do? Okay, sorry. I like when you come up with songs. So let's talk about what happened as a result, because they got rocked.
Yeah, that's what happened, really.
And that's it.
All right, there we go.
Yeah.
Well, if Johnson's bored while he sits out his suspension, he can always try his hand at Hearthstone. He'd hardly be alone. Blizzard announced earlier this week that its online collectible card game has a whopping 20 million players. That makes the most popular Blizzard franchise on Earth. Yeah, bigger than both World of Warcraft and Starcraft 2, which is insane to me.
It's amazing. We were talking about this before, like the commercials that were like 7 million players, and they're like, oh, Hearthstone's like, oh, that's so cute.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can play I play Hearthstone on my like iPad. I never think that would like outdo World of Warcraft.
20 million people.
It's a great voice.
Thank you. It's like Gollum, but he has a cold. Blizzard made big waves by tinkering with 2 important cards as they try to keep things balanced for their 20 million players. So let's talk about those card changes, Jared.
Yeah, the first one was to Leroy Jenkins.
You can't say it like that. Leroy Jenkins.
Can you say it like that?
How he says it. He's like triumphant.
Is it? Is that how he says it?
He yells it. Absolutely.
Like that? When we get
Yes.
Meg up into the high registers.
Leroy
Leroy Jenkins in a high octave.
Yeah.
Yes.
Octave.
Yes.
I'm high octane Leroy Jenkins.
Why? Yeah.
Okay, so Leroy Jenkins card, what'd they do to change it?
Well,
Leroy Drinkins would be a great drinking
Did
name.
I say
That's
Drinkins?
what it sounded like you said.
All right.
Tonight I'm going to get Leroy Drinkins. Okay, sorry.
they changed the name to Leroy Jenkins. When you
Leroy
play it, you got to take a
Jenkins,
shot.
confused
Yeah.
Yeah, to confuse players from the alcohol. Yes. They actually raised the cost of it to make it harder to play. This will have impact on a deck called the Miracle deck, which is used by the Rogue class. It's called the Miracle because you miraculously produce a bunch of damage in one turn. Leroy Jenkins is not so usable in that deck anymore. The deck's still potentially viable, just with different card combinations. The other card change is not as much fun to talk about. Starving Buzzard, which sounds like kind of a bummer, you know, unless you have any good jokes for Starving
Sounds
Buzzard.
like a sex position.
Sing a song about starving buzzards, Meg.
No.
Does it?
I said it sounds like a sex position.
Okay, what position would Starving
I
Buzzard
don't know what it would be, but I could think of some things.
Give her a moment.
be? You don't know what it would
There's
be.
a yoga position called you know what, never mind. Starving Buzzard.
How did they change starving buzzard, Jared?
Well, the sex position or the card?
The card.
Okay, yeah, the card, they raised the cost of Starving Buzzard as well. They turned it from more of a combination card that was before to now more of a mid-game utility card. I'm not sure how much utility it will actually have moving forward, but it'll have some use probably. We'll see. The bigger issue here is really players wondering about Blizzard making these changes when they're preparing for the World Championships at BlizzCon in November.
Yeah, is this going to put like Blizzard in the same category as Valve with like changing the game like during competitions or before competitions?
Well, it's something you have to do as a developer. You have to make changes to the game as required. It's one thing to say were these changes required or not. That's kind of split. I think most players were happy with the change to Starving Buzzard. Leroy Jenkins was more of a mixed reception, but Blizzard has said they're not going to make any more changes to the cards between now and the World Championships in November. So at least players can, all the players out there who are going to compete at the World Championships, and there's a lot of them, they can rest easy knowing there's no more big changes.
They're good. Well, professional careers were on the line in the toughest week of the League of Legends season, the relegation round. The top teams, challenger teams, face off each season against the lowest ranked teams in the League Championship Series to decide which teams get to play in the LCS the following season, and thus making a salary as a professional player.
Counterlogic Gaming, Evil Geniuses, they both scored spots in the next North American LCS, while Complexity was the biggest team to lose theirs. In Europe, it was Copenhagen Wolves, Gambit Gaming, and the surprising Unicorns of Love securing spots.
Is that
in
how
the
you
next
say their name every time you
split.
announce them? Unicorns of
I
Love.
like I feel like right when they start, they all throw glitter. And then I like them. I want to get they have to have a rainbow shirt. I want it.
The Pro League offseason in Starcraft is like any sports offseason. Contracts are extended and players are traded. A contingent of top Korean pros opted for free agency this week, but they won't be switching to another Korean team. They want to come and compete in the West. Why? 2 years ago, when Juan Parting Lee Sack was dominating Western tournaments, money might have been the answer. But these days, Western players like Chris Huck Laranger, who once signed a contract rumored to hit 6 figures, are only able to make a fraction of that.
So, Jared, why would these guys walk away from professional gaming contracts for free agency?
Well, it's a good question, especially free agency internationally, not just free agency in Korea. Parting in particular, we think, had a salary of 6 figures plus still. So the money is really in Korea. So why would you go outside of Korea? Maybe the fans are a bit more raucous. We've seen players say they like the international crowds a little bit more. The scrutiny is not so intense, you know, that's understandable. So there's some reasons there, but at the same time, the money is just so much less. You know, we mentioned Huck, who makes a fraction of what he once did, reportedly. Again, players are not super forthcoming with their salaries, understandably. You know, we don't talk about our salaries on camera, at least. So, you know, it's understandable that they don't want to say anything.
You
but
get paid?
I'm doing this for free.
Yeah, so it's understandable that they wouldn't want to talk about it, but from what we know, Korea is definitely the place to be by far. Like, there's no comparison if you want to get paid. So
it sounds like it's sort of a mystery as to why they did it. Like, there's speculation, but no one knows the reason why.
Yeah, I mean, they've talked about, again, wanting to get away from the zoo of the Korean scene, wanting to embrace the adventure of the international scene. I just don't know if it's really a wise decision. I don't think it's a wise decision, actually.
Just have to see how it develops.
Yeah, maybe they've saved a bunch of money in the past few years of playing StarCraft in Korea, so now they're just like, hey, whatever, I'm just going to travel around and live like a StarCraft playing playboy or something. I don't know. Yeah, just enjoy the game and the ladies that come with the game and the men that come with the game. I don't know. You know,
Live your life.
Yeah, exactly. Live it up. You know, both ways.
Finally, the Daily Dot recently reported on the fall of the Esports Global Network, a company formed to hold and broadcast esports competitions from a studio in Berlin, Germany. ESGN's production values were off the charts, and the competitions often featured the premier players in the games that were being presented.
But all was not as it seemed. The money behind ESGN proved unreliable, and a number of employees found themselves unpaid for months of work and extreme amounts of overtime. So let's break this down. ESGN, what happened?
Well, it was formed with the goal of becoming like Starcraft in Korea, being a truly professional scene for players to compete in these games. And it started off pretty well. The production values, as you mentioned, were very good, very high. We saw some really good numbers in viewership, both live and recorded early on. And they did a really good job early on. The production team was very good. So it was a great start. But as soon as things kind of shifted for the worse, as soon as those numbers went down a little bit, things became very rocky internally. And within months, the organization was kaput, gone, out.
And do we know, like, it was just like the money ran out, or people just didn't think that it was a viable thing to keep going?
Well, there was money there because even as employees of ESGN, of the production team, were being unpaid, money was still being put forth to produce new shows. So the money just was not being funneled to everyone involved in the production anymore. There's questions about the motivations ultimately for the people who are backing ESGN. You know, were they really interested in creating a good, new esports brand like this, or were they just trying to find some place to put some money for a while so they can move it elsewhere? We know that some money was being transferred from between countries. We know there was some questions about potential tax issues and stuff like that with some of the people who were at the investment part of this
so
operation.
Possibly could have just been like a byproduct of something else going on that was bigger than it.
Yeah, we don't know. I mean, we covered this somewhat on the Daily Dot in an article if you want to look below the video and check for a link to that. So yeah, there's some thought about what might have happened there. We just don't know exactly what the motivation was for the investors, but we do know that the people who worked for ESGN got screwed because a lot of them put in extreme amounts of overtime. We talked to people who would work, double a week's normal hours, get no days off for 18 days in a row, as many as that, and then not get paid for any of that overtime.
Wow.
And then go months without pay after that. So, really difficult situation, really unfortunate for all the players who didn't get paid, for the employees especially who didn't get paid, and just goes to show this kind of thing still happens, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's a bummer.
That's a bummer. That's it on that bummer note.
On a good note.
That's it for the leaderboard this week, but be sure to keep an eye out for the Know-It-All on Fridays on the Rooster Teeth channel for all the biggest news stories in the week in one shot.
In the meantime, for more gaming and entertainment news, make sure you click like and subscribe, and we'll see you next week for more from the leaderboard. GG, everyone.
Yay. GG, no re, but also re.
Yes, re us.
Please re. Please.